and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is courage. And before you get started, you see my new friend here. This is Maggie. And she's very busy. Before we get started talking about courage, let's just take a minute or two to get present. And let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen just flowing into your lungs, flooding your bloodstream and nourishing all your organs, all your cells. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any stress, any toxicity. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time imagine sparkling white light lighting you up from the inside out, brightening all your electrons, all your molecules, and just lighting you up, energizing and electrifying from the inside out. And now let's just gently press our palms together and really softly rub your fingers against your palms and bring yourselves present right here, right now. Welcome, 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 Rosalind. This is Maggie. I have to introduce her. Yeah, she is a green cheek conure. So, and she's very, very, very busy. So anyway, today's topic, hopefully she's not going to be too disruptive, but today's topic is courage. And I'm really, really excited to be talking about courage because it's something that we're all called upon to exercise on a regular basis. And I decided, when I thought of courage, I decided to look it up and just have, get some other input about what courage is. And interestingly, I found this article from the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association, and it's talking about the courage to lead and 4 different types of courage. And so I wanted to share that because I think it's really, really brilliant. So moral courage, and this is something that I believe that we're really called upon now more than ever to be exercising all these different modes of courage, but moral courage particularly. And their definition of moral courage is standing up and acting when injustices occur, human rights are violated, or when persons are treated unfairly. These are 4 categories of everyday courage. There's disciplined courage, remaining steadfast, strategic, and deliberate in the face of inevitable setbacks and failures for the greater good. And then there's intellectual courage, challenging old assumptions and acting to make changes based on new learnings, understandings, and insights gleaned from experience and/or educational research. And the last one is empathetic courage, and that's acknowledging personal bias and intentionally moving away from them in order to vicariously experience the trials and triumphs of others. So good morning, Sally. Wonderful to have you here. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about courage today. And so I think let's talk about each of these distinctions. I love that that they broke this down into Maggie's very vocal. She's talking about courage too. I'm experimenting with how best to do this. Yesterday she was in her cage and was very vocal, and today she's right here and very vocal. Hi Dido, welcome, welcome. We're talking about courage today. So hi Andrea, welcome. Yeah, I think it's an important topic, courage, and it's essential to leadership. And so I think all of these combined are sort of a wonderful formula for living every day. And when I talk about leadership, I don't mean having to lead a movement or anything like that. Um, Rosalind, Maggie's sending you love. I mean, Rosalind sending you love, Maggie. She's a character, right? Check her out. She's adorable and really, really smart. She's less than a year old. And so this past week, the road trip that I did was to Texas to go and pick up Maggie. And I have a cat. My cat is still getting used to her. Maggie used to live with a cat, and so she would just go over and walk right up to the cat and like try and peck at her. And my cat was not into that at all. It was pretty entertaining, actually, to watch them starting to get to know each other. Hello, Finn, Eric. Welcome, welcome. So let's Sally says, I've been experiencing intellectual courage lately. It can be painful to release some preconceived ideas of how things are supposed to be, or so we thought it was supposed to be. Good point, Sally. That's so true. Good morning, Christina. Birds are awesome and so intelligent. Yes. Yes. So, Sally, you're talking about the courage to release some preconceived ideas. And based on this breakdown of courage that was provided in this article, I think what you're talking about is both intellectual courage, but also empathetic courage, perhaps. Like, what is it that has us change our ideas? Oftentimes it's interacting with others and gaining a different perspective on things. So it takes intellectual courage to really listen to somebody that has a different point of view, to really hear, to really presence yourself to that listening. And I think that we're all challenged now to be engaging in intellectual courage and moral courage and empathetic courage, and also the disciplined courage is the courage to continue on when we have setbacks. And so that's something that we're challenged with on a daily basis, to just keep on with our vision, to keep on with the even just to keep on with the intention to grow and expand. It takes courage. So Sally says, spiritual growth within my own life. There's so many factors that play into this. It's true that, and I often say that the spiritual path is not for the faint of heart, because we do get to confront ourselves, right? And it does take courage to look deeply at ourselves, and to be willing to see clearly and make adaptations, adjustments, and to grow. Growing isn't always easy, and it takes courage to stick with it, right? And so this moral courage is really, really interesting, because this past year, good morning, Isabel, welcome. So glad to have you here. This past year has been such a challenge for us in so many ways. We've had so many opportunities to be engaging in conversations about morality, and I don't think that that's stopping anytime soon. we get to be looking at our freedoms and our prejudices and our entitlements and um, our personal commitments to our families, our values. All of these are moral issues that we have had the opportunity to explore this past year, probably more collectively than maybe any other time in history. I know that there have been other times that have really been about morality in particular arenas. However, I think we've been exposed this past year to the opportunity to really look at our principles and values and morals in many, many, many arenas. And we get to rise to this moral courage and be looking at what justice is, justice in our culture, justice in regard to nature, justice in regard to our individual actions or our collective actions as a human family or as a nation. So Tammy, welcome. Yes, this is Maggie. Maggie is the newest addition to my little family here. And she's such a character. Anyway, so how do we talk about mustering courage sometimes, right? Courage is not being afraid, by the way. Courage is taking action despite the fear that we may experience. And I've had occasion, it's really interesting in the work that I do, the coaching work, it's often very, very confronting for people. And sometimes people have come to sessions saying, I'm scared. I'm scared to do a session on this because I don't know what's going to be on the other side. And one of the places that courage is called forth and called for is in the face of change. And so we can make these grand changes societally. We can make personal changes that can often be very dramatic, that require courage and a willingness to face the unknown, which takes courage. Welcome, Susan. Great to have you here. So exploring the unknown, facing change, it all takes courage. And we have experienced such a profound change over this past year with COVID and changes in our lifestyles. And we've undergone lots and lots and lots of changes. Isabel says, Maggie, you're so cute. She is cute. So what kinds of space do you experience courage, and how do you muster the courage to even just to face a new day? Sometimes it just takes courage. So what do you do to bring yourself forth, to rise to the challenges of the day? Sometimes things are tough, and we have to, or we get to exercise courage just to get through the day and to face the the things that are ongoing challenges in our lives. So what does that look like for you? I appreciate, Sally, that you shared that you've been experiencing intellectual courage. One of the things about this is that, you know, a lot of people experience anxiety and fear. And moving forward day after day in the face of that takes courage, right? It doesn't mean that the fear necessarily goes away, but I just want to encourage, how about that? Encourage you to recognize yourselves for the courage that you exercise on a regular basis, and acknowledge that for yourselves, because it takes strength. It takes it takes a real determination, and Sally says, I have to allow myself to sit with each new challenge, then release any part I don't agree with, and then pull back to sit some more. And sometimes there's an almost mourning stage from some parts of our releases. That's a really great insight, Sally, because as we have this intellectual courage to be on our path of awakening and development, it's true that we do often have to, or get to, let go of our identities that we have had attachment to, or ideas. You know, we often, like, we think we think of ourselves in particular ways. We have particular identities, like I'm a good friend, or I'm a good daughter, or even something like I'm not intelligent enough, or these are identities, both positive and negative, that we get to reevaluate, because we are not any one of those things. We are a multitude of things, and sometimes we behave as a good friend, and sometimes we don't behave as a good friend, for instance. And it takes courage to be able to look at yourself with an objective eye, you know, rather than judging and imposing all these rigid ideas upon ourselves. And I like, Sally, very much that you said you sit with each new challenge, and going inward is such an important practice, and such an important source of wisdom. And we can find courage, we can encourage ourselves through the practice of quieting ourselves and presencing ourselves to that inner voice and inner wisdom that then encourages us, brings courage to us from a place of connection, and a place of deeper wisdom and experience. So with moral courage, I think we have the opportunity to speak up. And this is something I've encouraged a lot, is to be speaking your truth, to be speaking your passion, and to have the moral courage to really be seen, and to be operating from our deepest values. So, for instance, there's a lot that could be better in the world. And when we can source our moral courage, then we have the ability to take action. We have the ability to spotlight things that could use improvement. We have the ability to make a difference in the world, you know, to improve circumstances for people and groups, potentially, for connecting more deeply with nature, for upholding our values, right? And we can speak out without having to be righteous. We can speak out coming from a place of love and appreciation and connection. And that's also a part of leadership. So maybe that's empathetic courage that enables us to really step off of our own perspective for a moment, to be able to truly empathize with someone else's experience. And it takes courage to do that, because it's potentially threatening to really truly entertain an opinion or a vantage point that may be opposed to your own. And it's really interesting. I'm thinking back from a long time ago, having conversations with people that held opinions that were very different from my own. It was threatening to listen, and what's coming into my head is, like, years ago, saying, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Because why? Because it's threatening to my own vantage point. And so it takes courage to actually listen to someone and empathize. Isabel says, it helps me since I am aware that all healing and tools for it are within and not outside of us or our reach. Beautiful, Isabel. That's true, that that courage is an inside job. And it's interesting because this empathetic courage is a moral courage as well, right? Because it's driven by a value that is valuing connection. Sally says it's exhausting to be empathetic at times. I agree. I can imagine how it is exhausting to be empathetic. Let me think if I have that experience. I don't think that empathy means stepping into somebody else's pain. I don't think it means having to experience someone's pain. So I know that many of us are empaths, and I can get where it can be exhausting to be an empath without realizing what you're doing, without being able to create some kind of boundary for yourself. That can absolutely be draining and exhausting, because it's as if your energy is being subsumed by the energies around you. But I think it's possible to be empathetic without being emotionally immersive, if that makes any sense. Like I can recognize your situation. I can imagine the feelings you feel, but I don't necessarily have to experience them to be empathetic. At least that's my take on it. Because if you're in pain and I am in pain with you, is that helping you? Is it helping me? No. If I debilitate myself by putting myself in the pain that you're in, then I'm making myself unable to support you and assist you, I think. So I can recognize that you're in deep pain. I can imagine that you must be in deep pain, but my feeling that pain is not really a support for you. Irma, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. So Irma says, the real unconditional love value, to see and hear others without feeling I lose my integrity. Beautiful. Elaine says, beautiful, well said. Thank you, Elaine. I'm not sure if you're responding to me or to Irma, but I think that this is really important to recognize that we can see and hear others without losing our own integrity. And it takes courage. It takes courage to be present, really present to another's experience and vantage point, especially when it's in what looks like opposition to our own. So I invite you to really look at these 4 distinctions about courage and to recognize your own courage and acknowledge yourself for it. And I'm wondering if it, in terms of bringing forth our courage, what motivates that, I think, is a value that we hold. So if I value connection, then I will nurture my courage, my empathetic courage, in order to really connect with somebody who may have a different vantage point than I do. For moral courage, sometimes it's scary to speak out when you see something that's wrong. Or moral courage is if you see somebody that needs help, to help them in some way, perhaps, or just let's look at the opportunities that we have to exercise courage. And I'm wondering if you have any other additions to fill in for today about this topic. Courage in the face of change, courage in the face of something new. I think that courage is kind of a mainstay for all of us, and recognizing it maybe will give us greater insight into our values and the challenges that we take on. You don't actually have to be afraid either in order to exercise courage. So courage can be a state of being. It doesn't have to be always in the face of fear or the face of stress. It can be just a space of being. Sally says, it is, we need it. I agree. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me this morning and engaging in this conversation. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, and it is such a privilege to be with all of you. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network. And I hope to see you again here soon. Thanks so much. Much, much love to you and courage.